Hello, my name is Yuki. I also go by Genki Vlog on several social media sites, and today, as my title page says, it's Intro to Competitive Cosplay, and I promise not to scare you. My goal in this panel is to take away your fears, your concerns, all the crazy myths and legends that go around cosplay competitions, and put it, hopefully, in easier terms for everyone to understand and everyone to enjoy and become part of that competition. What I would also like to say from the beginning is please read the rules. Every convention's different, every contest is different, it's run by different people, it's judged by different people, so please read the rules from beginning to end. And then if you have any questions, what you're going to want to do is contact the cosplay coordinator of that competition. Just don't write any cosplay coordinator. I mean, everyone's going to be able to give you advice, but if you have specific questions to that competition, you are going to want to contact that cosplay coordinator. I'm going to keep repeating this over and over, so you're going to learn. So the next thing that I am going to talk about, and yes, I do have a notebook. I'm going to have PowerPoints up so you guys can see, maybe take notes if you want to take notes. I'm here to encourage you to enter the contest, to get that, to get up on stage. To get up on stage, encourage you to be there, show off your costume, get judged. But before I continue, I do want to point out something important, and I'm going to call it the glow up. We all see these amazing competition pieces and we think they magically appear out of everywhere, but we all start somewhere. It's okay to start at the beginning. It's okay to start as a novice. I've been cosplaying for over 20 years and I still learn new things. We all learn new things. So nowadays there's so many resources out there. Google something and you're going to learn. So grow. You have potential to learn, and you have potential to create. So go forth and do that. I am also going to talk about the contest itself and the cosplayers involved in it. The experience of going through this and finishing a piece and being backstage with the others and talking to each other, and the creativity that goes on backstage is just amazing. It's incredible. So don't forget that part. It's very important, and it's also how you learn and grow. Terminology, I am calling it the cosplay contest. Now, some conventions call it the cosplay contest. Some conventions call it the cosplay masquerade. Some places call it the masquerade. Other places consider a fancy ball the masquerade. So like I said before, read each convention carefully. So just to give you some background, I said I've cosplayed for over 20 years. I have competed in several competitions, even internationally. I have judged, I have emceed, I help run competitions, I help put together these masquerades. So I have a lot of knowledge going on in the background. I've also been what we call the den mothers and the green room. If you're in theater, you know green room is the backstage area where we keep everybody. I have been part of that group. So I've seen a lot, I've helped a lot, I've created a lot. So this is not just about Kamuracon's cosplay contest. This is about a bunch of other cosplay contests as well, just to help you get forth. I'll be pointing out specific things for Kamuracon's contest as we go along. So before I hit the big explanations of what is, what are levels and what are divisions, I'm going to explain a few things. Competing in groups versus solo. So about groups versus solos. First things first, groups are awesome. Like, you have this set of friends or people you just met, you like the same series, you like the same music, you're like, I've got this skit, that's great. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Groups are a lot of work because you're not just concerning yourself. It's more than just about you. It is about that group. So when you enter a contest, you have to think in a group mind. So this sounds like a school project, right? This sounds like that work management project. It's exactly the same thing. Make sure in your group that everyone has an assignment. Don't be that person who is the only person who does all the work for your group. That's when things happen. That's when it causes issues. And I don't want to scare you away from groups, because like I said, I love my group. My group is awesome. But you all have to pull through. You all have to work. There's going to be, there's going to be practices. There's going to be late night talks. There's going to be, is this better? Is that better? Can we do this? Can we do that? And it has to do with also everyone's feelings about the whole concept behind it. So put that effort in, go for it, create this amazing skit, get those people up there, and you're going to have a great time with those people. Warning about groups: most conventions, you will enter at the highest level of the highest group. So if you have a novice but a master's in the group, and that you have to enter masters, so that novice is now competing as a master. You don't compete separately. It's it's as a group. Personally, my one group, Lucky 3, we have 2 masters and then someone who's never even won an award. So every time we go into a competition, it is masters. It's like YOLO, because she jumps in when she has to. And most of the time you will find out these people are very, they are into it. They want to go. They want to, do this competition because you're there with your friends. The other thing you want to remember is to check the rules and see how many people are allowed on that stage. Now, I'm talking about stage, so I'm talking, yes, when cons were happening and when cons were live. I'm going to have a whole nother discussion about online cons like we're doing right now. But at that point, there are some that have really strict restrictions. There's some places that are like 3 people max, but then there's other places that are like 12 people. So please, once again, if they don't say it in the rules how big the groups are, write your coordinator. Important. Never surprise the stage people, okay? The coordinator needs to know what's going on. The person running the show needs to know what's going on. Do not surprise them. You can surprise the audience, but do not surprise the stage crew. Okay, what are we going to do next? Let's go to divisions. We're going to talk about juniors first. Many conventions are going to allow children to go up on stage, and this is the junior division, and it's usually 12 and under. They do not have to make their costume. That is like one of the things. This is an encouragement for the children to get up there, to have fun, to show off. Now, I've seen kids who've made their costumes when they go up there. That's perfectly fine. I was sewing at a really young age, before I was even 10. So if they have that skill, if they have that ability and they want to show off, go for it. But usually they will not compete within the adult section. The reason why children will compete in the adult section, 2 reasons. One reason is that a adult family member made their outfit and wanted to show it off and use them as their model, then that would be the adult section. The other reason is if the kid was in the group, they will be competing in the level that the group is. Okay, so here's my PowerPoint for novice. So basically, novice is for the beginner. That is what it's all about. So the other part about novice is your costume doesn't have to be fully made by you. You can have some bought pieces, but it needs to be modified. You need to decorate it, add things to it, something along those lines. There should be a base piece that you have created for this character. You cannot enter a bought costume. I'm just saying that. But like if you buy something like a top from Goodwill and suddenly you've decorated it and added things to it, you can tell them that in the novice and it's allowed. You've never entered a contest before is for beginners. Now, competitions are based on a trust value here, okay? So even though I say, oh, you've never entered a competition before, you can be novice. If you have been sewing for a long time and just because you haven't entered a competition, please be polite. Please don't be rude. Please do not enter novice. The goal here is for people who have not had that chance, who are just starting out, to be a novice. KimuraCon would like people in novice, encourage them to come out to try this competition. They don't want to discourage new people into trying this out. So when you see the contest and you see like the higher levels, please don't hesitate. That's not who you're competing against. You are competing against each of your levels. And that's the other important part about this. We'll go through the list and then I'll explain about that. So the last thing I put on that list is that the novice is usually the largest group. Here's the deal with that. So in the past, what happened before is you would just have signups for people to enter the contest, and they would tell you, are you masters? Are you juniors? Are you novice? And they didn't stop a number for each group. It was just, okay, we have 30 spots for them. So sometimes there'll be like 25 novices and 2 masters and, you know, stuff like that. But nowadays, conventions have a set number for each level. So a lot of times it would be 10 to 15 novice, 10 to 15 juniors, journeyman / intermediate, and 10 to 15 masters. So that's why you'll see a lot of times on the different social medias, the cons are saying, we still have so many spots open for this level, because that's what they have. Therefore, also you have the fact that they will say you're on a waiting list. So novice is on a waiting list. Novice usually does fill up pretty quickly because it's for the beginners. You're just entering this contest, and that's what I'm trying to convince you to do, is to enter this contest. So I like to think ahead before I enter a contest into a con. I've been doing it for so many years that I'm at the point where after the con's over, I'm already thinking of new ideas for next year. So when those submission forms pop up, it's like, hit submit. I already know, I've already been making, I've already been planning. But you know, that may not happen to you as a novice. You may be like, oh, this is great. That's fine. Just make sure you have all your information. So the other thing about levels is the award section. So once you're a novice and you win an award, most of the time you are bumped up then to intermediate the next one you enter. Basically because novice is for the beginners and you've won that award. Different cons have different awards. It all depends on what they can get as sponsors or what the con can afford. Some places have first, second, and third place. The other way is like maybe there's first, second, and third novice, first, second, and third journeyman, or they could also have best in class, first, second, third. So basically look up the rules, look up what it says, and a lot of the cons to move up to a next category will say major award. So that Halloween award you won, that award from the Matsuri, you know, it's there. Congratulations. You should be proud of yourself. But you don't have to freak out and be like, oh my God, am I in Masters now because I won, like, you know. Don't worry, okay? We're talking about what we consider major awards, which is usually a convention. So, but put it on your trust value. If you feel all these awards have given you enough practice and enough ability to go up, be my guest. The main point here is you choose where you want to be. We're not going to force you into a level. So if you feel more comfortable heading to the intermediate section, then you join up at intermediate. If you feel more comfortable being novice because you're new, then you're novice. A master should never be a novice. An intermediate should never be a novice. We should never have that. But yes, you can jump right into the other higher categories. And I'm back. What am I going to say? First thing I'm going to say is read the rules. Second thing I'm going to say is if your answer is not in the rules, where are you going to go? You're going to email the cosplay coordinator of that convention. And that's what you're going to do. So what we're going to discuss now is intermediate level, or some places call it journeyman. So double check, read the rules, see what it's called. So that is your middle ground level. You're no longer novice. Okay. So reasons why you would be an intermediate. One, you've won your awards. You've won a novice. Whatever the amount that you're supposed to win. Now you have to move up to intermediate. Or a lot of times intermediate is like this area where a lot of people just hang. It is where you could still have won awards in intermediate and still enter intermediate. But once you win enough in intermediate, you're going to go up to masters. Okay. So the one thing about intermediate is your outfit needs to be at least, I'm going to say 75% made by you. No bought materials, you know, that 25%. Yeah, sure. I mean, your socks and stuff. Okay, it's okay. And I'm saying these rules with the fact that, like, if you want to make them, make them. If you don't want to make them, okay. So it's just an option out there for you. I'm not saying, for intermediate, you are not allowed to make your socks. No, you can make them if you want. And if you're proud of them, you tell the judges. But we're going to get to what we talk to the judges in a few minutes. So we're still talking about intermediate. So intermediate is that area where you're too scared to enter masters. That's fine. It can be very, very, I'm not going to say discouraging, but scary when you see all those, you know, costumes that are out there. So the main thing that you're going to want to remember, also looking at rules, there are some conventions that have a fourth category, and that fourth category is called journeyman. And journeyman sits in between novice and intermediate. So normally you have novice, intermediate, masters. Some cons will have novice, journeyman, intermediate, masters. And that journeyman is for those who are done with novice, but not yet quite ready to hit intermediate. I've been to a lot of conventions where that novice category is very gray. You got people who are obviously novices. My hat's gonna fall off. And then you have people who have obviously been sewing for a while. They should not be competing against each other. Here's the point. You are competing against, if you enter novice, you're competing against the novices. If you are intermediate, you're competing against the intermediate. If you are entering master, you are competing against the masters. Okay? You do not have to worry as a novice person that you are competing against that masters. The only reason why you would be competing against that master cosplayer is if you were trying to get best in show. And that's like a whole other level. Okay? But craftsmanship wise, you are just competing against the other novices, not the masters. Not the masters. So, right? Also, I keep talking about craftsmanship because craftsmanship is a very important part of a lot of reasons why people enter the contest. They want someone to, for lack of better words, criticize their costume, you know. Journeyman went really quick. I am back and we are going to talk about masters. So with masters, this is what we're going to say first. As we say every level, what are we going to do? Read the rules. And after we read the rules, if we have any questions, what's the next step? You are going to email the cosplay coordinator every time you have questions, okay? No questions stupid. You need to understand the rules so that you can participate in these contests. So what we have going on with masters, as most of you have probably heard about masters, is it's the top of the top. You know, you probably have entered the contest to try to make it to masters. Who is allowed in masters? Well, first of all, anyone is actually allowed in masters. If you were ready to test your skills, if you were looking at the other masters and like, I can do that, enter. Do it. Why not? You know, nothing is stopping you from entering any of these skill levels. Just remember, once you enter a skill level, like if you enter masters at that convention, you cannot lower yourself and the judges will not lower you down. A lot of times, as I said before, judges will raise you up a level. Like if you enter journeyman and they're like, that looks like masters to me, they will move you up to masters and judge you as masters. But they will not bring you down a level. So be prepared for that. The other reason why you would be in it is you have already won 3 awards in intermediate. Like I said before, check the rules. Some say 1, some say 5. You don't know until you see what they say. So that's an intermediate if you won intermediate that many times. If you won best in show at any con, once again, best in show, I mean, that's like the epitome. You are in Masters. That means, yes, if you won best in show as a novice, which is a possibility, you are now Masters. That's just the way this goes. You make money off of it. Did I mention that? If you make money, if you're a tailor, if you're a seamstress, if you make money off of making costumes, you will usually be in Masters. Some cons will not allow people who make money, because they call them professionals, to enter contests. So read the rules, contact the cosplay coordinator. So that is the thing about Masters. What you're going to do is, now that you have decided to enter Masters, there are some key points that I would advise. One, do not rush a masterpiece competition costume. It will be that costume that takes you months, takes you years, whatever it is. This is your, they're all your babies, but you know, this is that piece that is going to be like, yeah. So don't rush it. If you get frustrated, if you have to put it aside, you put it aside. You're going to start making mistakes. The judges will see those mistakes. These judges have been there. They know. So the thing with Masters is they will be tougher, harsher. The judging's more difficult because they expect you to know what to do. Your seams should be finished. Your fitting should be impeccable. You should have your pieces that just, there's something about it that is just like, it's amazing, okay? And it's all the skills that you have collected throughout these competitions, throughout your years of sewing, that you finally put into this piece and bring it before the judges. 90%, at least 90% of your costume should be made by you. A lot of cons are like 99%. Everything has to be made by you. Well, yeah, you know, you can go that far if it's just 10% there. Petticoats should be made by you. Foot gear should look as close as possible to what that character's wearing. You can't bring sneakers on, unless the character has sneakers, to a master competition. Wigs should be more than just simple wigs. Like, you know, this is simple wig. I'm going to go into, in the next section, what the judges look for when they judge you, now that we got all the levels figured out. But yes, Masters is the top of the top. You're getting there. Also, okay, it's not the top of the top. Let me put it that way. Best in show at most cons. Most cons have a best in show. Best in show is your presentation mixed with your scores of your construction. So you have to enter both. And we'll discuss about skits and walk-ons and all that in a little bit. And that combination is you win. So the other thing you're also going to want to keep an eye on with these competitions is that the Masters, let's say at KimuraCon, is not the same as Masters at Anime Expo. And I'm just using those two as an example. But let's say East Coast Masters is not going to be the same as West Coast Masters. Even though they're like the best that people have, it is still, you are competing against those people that day. You're not competing against last year. You're not competing against years from now. You are not competing against another convention Masters. You are competing against what you have in Masters at KimuraCon. I'm going to use KimuraCon because that's where we are, right? The thing to remember is then look at your competition. Don't think it's weird. Don't think, you know, it's crazy or anything. There's also, you will note, a confidence level with a Masters compared to, say, a novice, as they have probably done this for several years, several competitions. They know what's expected of them, and they just go for it. So we will also go over all that presentation, because presentation is very important on stage when you're wearing a costume. What the judges expect of you. So now that you understand all the division levels, let's get into what are the let's get into what are the judges looking for. So I'm going to use my little thing here so I can read it as I have, but as I'm reading it, you're going to have it on the PowerPoint. So, yes, I stole this from the SoccerCon cosplay contest because this is the best interpretation I have seen of what these are, what the judges are looking for. So, the execution of your costume. How well is the costume constructed? This goes back to all those finished seams and how you put it together. So they're just looking at how this all came together. How is it falling apart in front of their eyes? Does it fit you? Is it tailored, which is what it fits you? How does it look? How is it done? Accuracy and faithfulness. How close the costume was made to the source material. You should always have at least 2 reference pictures. That is my go-to. Judges aren't familiar with every character out there and need to see what you are recreating. The more views on your reference, the better. So if you have more than 2 views, the front, back is always nice. If you got side, you just need to have a reference. They need to know what you're recreating so that they see how the execution and the accuracy is. Next is the complexity. How wide the range of skills used in a project and the difficulty level of these techniques. This is something my group has nicknamed Cosplay Bingo. Basically, what techniques are involved in what you're making? Can you go one step further? Did you try? Always keep learning. As I keep saying, always keep learning. So basically, Cosplay Bingo is you have a gown. Okay, that's great, but what did you do to the gown? What did you add to it? Is there something else constructed on it? Does it have a corset with boning? A difficult fabric that you were constructing with? Do you have foam creations? It's just different things you want to be. You just don't want to be like, well, here it is sewed. You know, I sewed a gown. This is all. I mean, gowns are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But you need to have something else with it. You also have the creativity that the judges are looking for. Design choices, thoughtful use of materials, ingenuity, personalized embellishments, etc. This is actually my favorite part about cosplay. I often get the compliment that my costumes look like they could exist in the real world. So what I try to do is I think about the character, not that it's a costume. This is what they wear every day. It's not weird for them. So I imagine if they come, let's say, from a traditional show or a video game, what kind of fabrics would they use? What kind of embellishments would they use? Coming from someone who loves glitter and bling, that is not always the answer. I'm going to tell you that right now, okay? If that character would not wear glitter and bling, then that's not the answer. I'm just saying. I prefer to see, like as an example, I did Princess Tomio Hime from Tsubasa, and I did her princess outfit from the splash page. And she had all these traditional knots and stuff with her traditional garb. So I did a lot of research, learned how to knot the rope properly. I have seen people who like take Link from Legend of Zelda and they learn to embroider because they feel like his tunic is more earthen than commercial, which sure, you know. So it's those different kind of creativity and embellishments that you want to put on there. Okay. Now, let's go on to skit versus walk-on, okay? What is the right choice for you? I'm going to read this off. First of all, it is very difficult to execute a solo skit. I'm going to tell you that right now. Keeping an audience entertained for more than a minute as you walk across by yourself, like this is like this, like... What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So You can always tell someone who's been doing these competitions for a while because they're amazing up on stage. They know what they're doing. And I'm talking about skit. So the hard part is that for the longest time, conventions did not award Best in Show to anything that did not have a skit. So your walk-on as a craftsmanship judging was just to show it off to the audience. You've been craftsmanship judged. Now you're just doing the walk-on to show it off. You're not getting extra points for that walk-on. But people who enter the craftsmanship and then do skits, their skit performance is integral to that Best in Show score. So a lot of individuals were like, okay, I am going to enter as a skit. And then it became what I like to call a glorified walk-on. There's nothing to the skit. They're in their costume and they're just wandering around on the stage. You don't need to do that, okay? So basically for competitions, a skit will be 3 to 5 minutes. Another fair warning, you do not have to use all those minutes. Just because a con gave you 5 minutes does not mean you have to use all 5 minutes. When your skit is done, when you've hit that punchline or you've hit that dramatic fall on the stage, you're done. You know, that's all you need. The judges are not going to be like, oh, they were 1.5 minutes short. That's no big deal. Trust me. Go for it. Don't use all your time if you do not need it. The one thing about a walk-on, a lot of times people think it's boring. So sure, if you don't know what you're doing on stage, it's going to be boring. Normally during my panel, I show a bad walk-on to a good walk-on simply by having people come up and do it. But here's the key. If you're trying to show off a costume, you're not going to like put your head down. You're not going to walk up and you're not just going to like spin really quickly and run off stage. That doesn't show your costume at all. So what you're going to want to do is a walk-on, which a lot of times walk-ons are 30 to 60 seconds. There is so much time for that. Think about TikTok. TikTok, you can go 15 to 60 seconds. You know everything. If you know how to plot out your storyline, you've got it. You've told your story. So you can, in that walk-on, without making it a skit, tell your story. And a lot of cons now are just allowing performance-based. So anyone who gets up on that stage, you get points. So an individual, yes, can win Best in Show. So I want to show an amazing walk-on. Someone I know. They entered the Kimura-Con contest last year, and I'm showing their clip. And you're going to hear a lot of screaming because we were all screaming. So as we're showing this clip.
Up next, we have Misha-chan Cosplay as one of my students, Mina Ashito from Boku no Hero Academy.
What you want to do is embody that character. That is the whole point of getting up on stage and doing a skit or a walk-on. And they come out with energy, they're embodying this character, and they also emit that year. So if you don't know the character, it's Ashito from My Hero Academia. And that year, the hosts, the MCs, were all dressed in characters. And the All Might, who is, you know, they're students of All Might. Why am I explaining My Hero to you guys? Anyway, long story short, he introduced her as my student, and she said that it made her feel more energized and it got her going into that. And it was just incredible. It was like a perfect walk-on. That is all I can say. So that's what you want to do. You want to embody the energy of your character. Now, that doesn't mean to go bounce out there if you're cosplaying a serious character, right? You can be slow, show off if you have a weapon, show off that weapon. or whatever. You can do it. I'm checking the time. You can do it. So here's the big thing, as I know you've all been waiting for. Now that we've discussed divisions, now that we discussed what you're supposed to be creating, now that we discussed skits and everything like that, what we're moving on to is when you walk in those judging doors for your costume, okay? When the judges say, insert comment here, should I panic now? When to cry, when to get mad, and when to turn those emotions into creative energies. Now, you're going to feel a lot of emotions when entering that room. Scared, nervous, excited, proud. You may even forget everything you practiced to say to them. This is a big thing. So don't feel dumb, but practice in front of a mirror or your camera. Talk in front of your camera. What you're going to want to do is, usually you get 5 minutes to explain your costume. You're going to want to point out what your favorite part is. Maybe something you learned to make while you were making this costume. Every time I choose a costume, I choose something that I want to learn how to do. So maybe you learned a skill on how to make something. You're going to point that out. You're going to point out your favorite part about it. You just make sure you talk. So I had taken a long break from competition. I had entered when I was at the very beginning of my cosplay stage, but then I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to help run things and everything. So when I came back to compete, I entered a competition and I entered in an idol costume, and they were like, hey, what's your favorite part? And I totally blanked. Like, I should know how this goes, right? I should know what we're doing. And what did I go? Bling. I mean, I literally, that's all I said. Was like, oh, my favorite part is the bling. It was stupid. It was really stupid. So try to practice what you're going to say. I mean, if that's what comes out, that's what comes out. Don't be too embarrassed. Do not worry. Judges don't bite. They, like I said before, they have been where you were. So they know what's going on. They know how nervous you are. So what you're going to want to do is just practice those 5 minutes. And a real quick discussion about the 5 minutes. The 5 minutes is for individuals. Now, if you have a group, it's going to go longer. I mean, a judge cannot spend 5 minutes on one person and then a group enters and only spend 5 minutes on the group. That's not going to happen. Also, the other thing about it is, if they don't spend all 5 minutes with you, it's okay. Like, don't freak out. That's not the time to freak out, okay? They could have seen everything they needed to see. They had all their questions answered. You explained everything in 2 minutes to them. The length of time you were judged is not telling of how much they liked it, is not telling of if you're going to win something. The time is nothing. You're just going to be like a nervous wreck. So the other thing you're going to want to do, I keep saying that, the other thing, there's a lot of things you're going to want to do. So basically what you're going to want to think about as well is you're going to tell the judges who your character is. Because as I said before with the references, we don't know every character that's out there. You don't. How do you expect the judges? So you need the references. You need to be like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And then a lot of times I will reference the costume. If I have a particular costume, this one, or variation of a costume, this is why I chose that one. So I explain that to them, and then I dive into the details. One thing, please don't do. Don't tell them your mistakes, okay? Trust me, the judges see your mistakes. Like my hat falling off all the time. Don't. Yes, I made the hat. Anyway, you don't want to explain the mistakes to them. You're not going to walk in and I'm not going to say, hey, I made my hat too small. It doesn't sit on my head. I apologize for that. That is not what you want. Trust me, they're probably going to know your hat is too small and is not sitting on your I've tried to put a headband in it even. Okay, anyway. We're going to live through this. We're going to get this. I should pin it, but I didn't think I would need to pin it. But, here we go. So some judges ask questions. Some will just, okay, whatever. I have never been to 2 craftsmanship judges that are the same. Never. Nope. It's always different. The questions they ask, different. The judging, different, so it's how they score, what they ask. I mean, they're going to ask you integral questions. So what I like to do is treat it like a job interview. Now is not the time to cry. Now is not the time to get angry. What I do is I listen to what they tell me. I take all that information, and then, you're going to talk to your friends about it. Who doesn't, right? And you're going to take those pointers. You're going to learn something about it. You're going to know what to do for next time. That's my greatest, actually secret about cosplay competitions. Take the information you get, use it to improve, enter next time. Not bad, right? So Kamuricon, as well as other conventions, they offer the judges sheets, the notes that the judges write. Go get them. Go get them. They help a lot because you have like the judges and then they tell you things. I will say things that I know they told me, like basically my wigs are too simple. Okay, that means that I have to, do better on my wigs. Once or twice I've had a fitting issue and they will point that fitting issue out on those sheets. There you go. So that's not bad. When I said about how, take all the information, the body language from the judges and talk to your friends and family, go for it. Let off some steam because you don't want attitude. Keep your attitude at the door. I understand this costume is your baby and you've spent all this time on it and you want to defend your baby. But you can't be angry at what the judges say to you. They're trying to be creative criticism, okay? Creative criticism is when they offer you a suggestion on top of it. So if they ask you, why did you use that fabric? It's not like, oh my God, ew, I hate that fabric. It's not that. It's they want to know why you chose that fabric for this costume. Go ahead and explain it to them, because didn't you choose that fabric for a reason for your costume? Sure, you did, right? So you just don't bring attitude to the judges. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you at all. The other thing you're going to need to know is, remember when I told you about how you're not competing against the novices? Novices are not competing against masters. So the reason why a lot of times the judging goes from novice to intermediate to masters is because the judges, you don't want to look at masters first and then have to judge the lower sections. Your brain is going to process it funny. So they're looking at the sections. You are all going to come in as novice. You're all going to come in as intermediate. You're all going to come in masters. And that grouping is going to, that's how the judges. So the judges are going to be really nice to you as a novice, okay? You're new. You're learning things. That's great. As a master, when you come in, they're going to be a little bit meaner, okay? It's just the way it goes. Like, you've been doing this. I want them to tell me what's going on when I'm in masters. So anyway, some conventions have original design as well. So this is the section, check the rules. This is the section where it's usually fan art, your creation, gender bends, kajinkas, things like that are going to be entered in this area. According to Kamuricon rules, this is its own section. You are not going to, you're not competing, you're not in levels, you're just, original design is competing against original design. Now, original design, go for it. you're in a competition anyway, but you are going to be facing, novice is going to be facing masters in that original design because levels don't matter. It's just the costume. But there's some amazing pieces. I mean, I'm going to show pictures. And you get to go upstage and you get to do your little, turnaround thing, and you get to show off your costume. So if the one thing I would say about original designs is check the rules. Don't get your heart set on this original design and then you can't enter it. Also check the rules to see what genre is allowed. Kumoricon allows all genres. A lot of anime conventions will only allow Japanese creations. And last but not least, I'm going to talk really quick about online conventions because, hello, this is what we're doing nowadays. So it's not that much different if you really come right down to it. You are still creating a costume. You are still entering a level. You are still having reference photos. You are still taking progress photos. That's the other thing I forgot. Please take progress photos. I just take a lot of photos while I'm sewing. Here's a seam. There's this. There's there's that. Just progress photos. And then I put together a scrapbook. Okay? So the scrapbook basically explains the fabrics I used, has pictures of references, has pictures of what I used, what I did. That way the judges know you made it. Also, it shows them some of the skill that you have. So there's the point there. So with the online competitions, you're going to want to make sure you take a lot of photos. Then you're going to get into your costume and you're going to take photos of you in your costume, full makeup, full costume. And then some of them are requiring video. So I would just take a video, I don't know, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Better safe than sorry. You can always edit. And you're going to show off your costume. And then they have judges and the judges look at it. And they do the judges like they always do. So it's the only difference is you're not on the stage and you don't have the audience in front of you, which I understand, but I am so happy that the conventions are actually offering online and they're offering, we all get bit by the competition bug. Why do you go on stage? Well, I like to go on stage because I like to act like a ham, okay? I like to go crazy on stage. I like to have fun. I like to, just go all over the place. But competition, being on stage, you just have that urge. So them offering the opportunity to have online competitions is great. So please enter. Please give Kumoricon a chance. They have been awesome. DigiKumo's been awesome. I am wrapping this up really quick. Read the rules. Read the rules, please. And last but not least, I am on social medias. My link tree is Genki Vlog. Here's a screen grab. Come visit me. Look at my stuff. I have to update. It happens. So I hope everyone has a good rest of the convention. Thank you for coming to my panel.